All right. What's up, man? How's it going?
Good, man. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I'm doing I'm not as warm as you, but other than that, life is pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty warm down here. It's actually a nice change of pace. It was crazy because it was cold literally the whole way down until you hit the Florida border. Then all of a sudden it's just like 70 degrees right away and palm trees. It's amazing how that line works right there. But it was cold all the way down through Atlanta. It was in the 30s the whole way down.
Cool, cool. So what are you doing down in Florida, Josh?
It's just that time of year. Mille Lacs tends to get a little stagnant for me this time of year. I'm not big into the ice fishing, though. I have been seeing a lot of people catching bass through the ice, so they're starting to pique my interest a little bit more.
Sure.
But this time of year, it's a good time to be down here, getting ready for tournaments, getting the boat ready to go, utilizing this camper that Bree and I run around and live in. It's a good time of year to be down here.
Yeah. So you really, you
Still
get down there
generate.
early, get the boat ready, get back in fishing shape, knock the rust off, see some of your old buddies. You're not the only one down there. There's like Gussie's going to be heading down there, and Seth's going to be heading down. It's a pretty common deal for people to get down there and kind of warm themselves up figuratively and literally. So
Yeah, definitely is, and you can't make fishing content or nothing like that either right now up north unless you want to go ice fishing. So it's a good time to get out there with Bree get the camera rolling and get stuff going. But yeah, you're right. Everyone's about to come down to Florida. It's a good spot to be right now.
or you sit in a basement studio like this and just
Yeah,
talk to a camera
yeah,
like an idiot like me. So
that's it. That's it. I was doing it a week ago.
so where are you at right now in Florida? Where are you calling home for the moment?
We just got down to Clewiston. The first pro circuit event is here in Okeechobee, and I've only fished here one time. In 18, I did okay. I got a check, but it was in the 40s somewhere, and just uh, kind of ran around and just kind of made something happen. But it looks totally different now. Being here now looks totally different. When we were here before, those hurricanes kind of messed it up. So now it seems to be like the Okeechobee of old, or what I used to watch on TV and stuff like that. Things are starting to grow, so it's a good place to just kind of poke around and figure out where I'm going. Get myself lost and found again. Not big into fishing a lot, as much as it kills me after winter and coming down. I've made a few casts, but right now I'm just kind of moving around and looking for stuff, figuring my way in and out. Trying not to get too many preconceived notions. Those have killed me in the past, but just knowing where you can go find some hydrilla, some eelgrass, some reeds, whatever it is that you want, just to know where it all is around the lake and run around. Pretty beneficial. But then we go off limits here after the weekends, run around and start just fishing some holes, trying to catch a PB or something.
Go get them sneaky spots. Try to catch some bigs. Get some good content.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
Exactly. Before it's back to casting for 12 and a 5 pounder to get paid again. Try to go around, catch some giants.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, our buddy Billy Coles is in here. He says hi.
Yeah. Good guy. He's been fishing more than me.
Yeah, I see. He's been wrecking him there in the winter leagues out there. I keep seeing it on the Instagram.
Yeah,
He's blowing it up. So
Bill's a good fisherman.
he must have learned something hanging out with you.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I haven't seen Bill in a while now.
Yeah. So what? So you said the first tournament. Maybe talk a little bit about your schedule this year. So your very first tournament is the what do we call it? The MLF Big Five Pro Circuit. Did I get it right?
Yeah. It changes every year. Basically, what was the FLW tour, now the MLF Pro Circuit. Yeah, fishing those. It's good this year. Last year it was a little bit stressful when MLF was purchasing FLW. You didn't really know what was going on. So this year it's been kind of roses coming in. Things have actually gotten better. Entry fees dropped 10 grand. The payouts are really nice, especially if you're in a Phoenix. I'm chasing that first place trophy hard, so that's something I definitely want to get, because then you win a whole bunch more money out of a Phoenix. But the circuit's good, and then also fishing the Toyota Series Southerns and the Toyota Series Northerns, and then the Bassmaster Open Southerns. So I got a pretty big schedule, and already booking guide trips back home on Mille Lacs. So I'm sure we'll powerhouse a ton of hours on this engine, and you got to fish a lot to make something happen, right?
Yeah, for sure. And that's crazy what Phoenix did in the last 2 seasons for tournament incentives. So it's a really good deal if you're already running one, for you know what I mean, like, or even thinking about moving over. You're not quite John Cox League as far as tournaments this year.
No,
you're getting there.
No, nobody's John Cox League. John Cox took like the angler that I've always looked up to the next level. Like, I always liked the guys that were fishing Bassmaster and FLW. They were just fishermen. They wanted to fish all the time and try to collect trophies. And John Cox now is taking that to a whole new level. But I believe, if I'm not mistaken, is the St. John's Bass and the FLW or the circuit event, are they the same week to start?
He said there was a couple of conflicts, and he had it all mapped out. I remember when he was on, like, I forget which one of the podcast shows he was on. He was going to skip, I think, one of the Bass Pro circuits early on.
Good. Hopefully that one's Okeechobee then. I don't
remember exactly.
Cox is good everywhere he goes, but if I don't got to fish against him in that one, that's all right. You can go over there. You can fish that one. He's pretty dead. Yeah. He's pretty deadly everywhere he goes, but he makes a lot of money fishing bass tournaments. So
yeah, he's really all about that. Clicking through those 10K checks, and he figures the more 10K checks he can make, the more money he can make. That's what is.
So. Yeah, and then he wins one every year too.
Yeah,
100 grand. 100 grand's real nice.
Easy. So you got a. I don't know. Is there one on the schedule this year that you got your eye on that maybe you just feel? I mean, obviously you go out there to win them all, and you're one tournament at a time, all that. But there's got to be one that you're just kind of maybe itching a little more, or you kind of just got your eye or shines a little bit on the schedule.
Yeah, there is actually, with the circuit. I don't know a lot of the lakes, so I'm kind of I don't know what to think about that either. Which way I generally do okay if I don't have preconceived notions. A lot of times the ones I'm most excited about end up being my worst ones.
Sure.
So
I didn't say which one were you going to win. I said which one were you excited about.
Yeah, that's just it. It's I don't know. This year I'm actually excited for a lot of them. It's the first time I fished the Toyotas. I generally do well in Florida. Every time I'm down here, I usually do pretty good. Start the season off pretty strong. So now I got, I think, 5 tournaments in Florida this year. Again, those Toyota money is nice. It's 35 grand too if you win out of a Phoenix there. So that could actually be a big payout with a smaller deal. And then the Harris chain, the first Open, I really like the Harris chain. It's actually, I think, Kissimmee's probably my favorite, but the Harris chain is a close second. And it was the one that I thought I went like the longest, but it's a big fish factory. It's awesome. And then the St. Lawrence, I've actually never been there. Everyone else has fished there a dozen times or better. I've never been there. So I'm definitely looking forward to that one. And believe it or not, the Potomac's one that, if it has milfoil and stuff in it this year, it's one that I had a bad tournament at and really want that tournament back. The tide kind of got me not knowing how to manage it. So I'm looking forward to the Potomac again, but really I'm kind of looking forward to all of them. It should be pretty fun.
Yeah, if you're not
last fall, after the reschedules in the fall, like everything is looking good now from here on out. Because fall fishing where we live, Rich, is awesome, as you know. Yeah. But as you know too, fall fishing in the South is not that spectacular. So really, they all look like Whackfest to me from this point going forward now.
Well, I mean, I know it. I was on Pickwick in November.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting question, Chris, who's one of our Minnesota guys. What was your deciding factor in kind of splitting it up and sticking with basically the old FLW versus going all in on the Opens like several other guys did? I mean, obviously there's plenty of guys that have stuck with it like you have, and there's plenty of guys that have kind of went all in on the Opens. What's that?
Yeah. Sorry, it froze for a second. I think you was why did I keep fishing MLF through that and not just to the
even
open?
this year, right? Why have you chosen to stuck with the pro circuit versus? I mean, there's lots of guys making decisions, but what was kind of your thought process?
Yeah, I never really had a decision. It's a good question. I never really had it. Was never really a decision. I did think about it right away. Again, I didn't just because I strictly didn't know, but for me, I fished. I think this is my 7th or 8th year fishing. We were just trying to figure that out a second ago, but it was after 2000. I think it was 2013. I believe was my first year fishing the opens. And granted, I was green, man, and you knew me. I was trying to learn fast, and I knew I wanted the big stage. I knew I wanted the national level. I had some success in Minnesota, but as soon as I get to one tier, I would just jump to the next one right away.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went and fished the opens, and really it wasn't that great, man. I didn't have the money. I didn't have a boat that ran great, and I didn't have the skill set to be out there. I was still trying to fish docks, and you leave Minnesota and docks have 60 feet on them some places and stuff. It's not really a spot for a jig. So things just kind of got, what it was. Well, when I had a couple good years, I started to kind of get my momentum in the opens, a couple top 10s. I missed the opens, and I signed up for the FLW tour. And them couple years fishing, I got a lot better faster. I could see it. I could feel it. I went from like the dream of winning the tournament to actually tasting it. And I feel I could get there. And I also just watched the progression. Like, so many anglers that we consider hammers have roots through the FLW tour. It just makes really, really good fishermen. And I try to not get in the politics of the sport too much. Fishing for $10,000 checks are big. They're what keep Bree and I on the road, keep our bills getting paid, and doing stuff like that. And that's just something you can't do at the open or even just the straight Toyota level. So as long as I had a card to stay on the tour, man, I was definitely going to do it for sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of guys that have made the choice to go all in on the opens to make the elites, but it's a bit of a risk because, like you said, if your goal is to make a living, you can't make a living fishing the opens, right? I mean, that's just not.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, yeah, no doubt. No, you ain't gonna make a living fishing the opens, no matter how good you are. And it's tough, man. It's really a tough road. I've been as close as the first guy out. A few years back, I was 6th in the points or whatever. I was the 6th man out from getting in. I think Shin Fukai got the 5th spot. And then you just have one bad day and you watch that whole season disappear. You're running around. It's for an elite. It's for the elite carrot, and it's also for a classic. I used to really, really, really want to be an elite series angler. That's what I grew up wanting, but I also wanted to be an FLW tour angler as well. And basically, it's a good stage. It makes me better every day, and I'll always try to fish opens and stuff. Mainly again for the classic, for the chance to win one. When I was at Rayburn and almost won that, the feeling of qualifying for a classic is something that I probably won't ever be happy until I have that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's cool. I'm just gonna take a second.
It froze up on me for a sec.
Yeah, you're a little choppy, but hopefully it's not too bad for the people at home here. The audio's pretty good, so I don't know if it's your end or my end.
Rich,
nobody's complaining about it in the chat.
I lost them. You there?
I am. I'm going to take
Rich.
Josh out and let him come back in and see if that works. I'm going to send him a quick text. And hopefully that'll fix it. Sometimes that will fix it. So we're just going to bump Josh out, bring him back in. In the meantime, I just want to talk quickly about fantasy fishing quick while Josh is kind of coming back in. So for you guys that have followed me, I do a lot of fantasy fishing. We'll be kicking those videos out soon. Also be writing some columns for Bassmaster on fantasy fishing. But I just want to call out, consider joining the Beat HellaBass group here on Bassmaster Fantasy Fishing. It's the largest private group. And the reason we're going private this year is so that the winners for the prizes will all be in our community and keeping them in there. So that's the reason that we're going to keep it local and in the group. So just go in here, click on Beat HellaBass, and then the password is all lowercase, jigs for pigs. So that's the password for the group. And we got Josh back, so we're going to bring him in here a second. And hopefully he is in a better spot now, and it'll work better. Sometimes just bumping somebody out, bringing them back in fixes. How's it going, Josh? You hear me?
It's going good. I don't hear you very well, but
yeah. I don't know that it fixed it.
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Yeah, you sound like a robot, though. That's the only problem.
Let me try a different internet source real quick.
All right. Josh, we're going to take Josh out one more time and have him try a different internet source and see if that fixes it. But, so like I said, we'll get through this. I'm sure he'll pick it up here. I mean, we got Gussie from Manitoba, so it can't be all that bad. So, I said the sound was good. Don't let the auto caps get you. That's a good point. Watch out for the automatic cap on the password. Yeah, so hopefully this works out. Maybe I'll switch over to a hotspot or something like that, and we'll be rocking and rolling. But other than that, we'll get back into it with Josh here in a few minutes. For you guys that are new to the stream, I got links in the description below. If you guys want to support the channel, check out omniafishing.com. There's a link down below. If you want to check out what they're doing, you can shop through me. Help my channel out. Doesn't cost you anything. And there's a code RichLindgren15 below, which will save you 15%. So that helps the channel, helps me keep things going and get good guests like Josh in here. So how's it going, Josh?
I don't know, man. It's kind of in the middle of a bunch of sugar. In the middle of the sugar cane field. Can you hear me better?
Not really. It's hard to believe that Gussie has better internet than you do.
Yeah, Florida's terrible, actually. Florida is just terrible, but I don't know why you can't hear me. It says that I got good bars. Can you hear me at all?
I can hear you, but you're very robot, like broken up.
What do you want me to do?
I don't know. It's a good question. I have not had this. Are you maybe try just going on? Can you just go on your phone and click on that link and we'll just go mobile instead of the laptop? Maybe try that.
Yeah. All right. I'm getting out.
Good call, Bailey. Let's see if this works. Hopefully it does. Otherwise, you're just going to be stuck with me babbling about baits or something like that. He does sound like he is a chain smoker, Logan. That's a good point, and it's not true. So yeah, hopefully going on mobile, just going straight will work, or just the mobile will suck less bandwidth than the laptop. So what else? I don't know if there's any questions here that cannot wait to watch the elites. That's for sure. That's going to be good. Josh does sound like his emphysema. What else? Let's go back through the it was actually better before we kicked him. His audio was at least good at that point. What's up, Michael Minnan? What's up, Kenny? So what's it like going from the smaller lakes in the north to these huge reservoirs in the south? The size of the lakes isn't a real big deal, AP. I would say it's more about the lack of vegetation as a whole and the shad presence. Like the natural lakes up north don't know about a shad. So understanding how shad drives bass behavior is probably the biggest thing. And then just learning to understand how creek channels and river channels really affect bass and our migration patterns. Our lakes don't have like creek channels and things like that for the most part. So those are two big things when you go down south from up north, from my perspective, as somebody that's definitely dabbled down south. Logan, the fastest way to get better is time on the water. Shadow, you are correct. There are no fish in the St. Lawrence. It's all propaganda. Correct. It was John Cox on Low Budget Live talking about that. Let's see. Thanks, Tom. Yeah, we're trying to get the studio set up, getting a new banner, getting a fresh look behind us. So that's good. All right. He was good early. Let's see. Chatterbait voice. Elites AOI prediction. That's a tough one. Without really studying the schedule. So I think who was really leading it before they got, without as much northern swing. I bet you Hackney comes back with a vengeance. So we'll see about that. That's my early pick without really putting. That's my gut pick. Just quickly, would you say Minnesota fish is similar to Florida? That's a good question for Josh. I've never fished in Florida, but there's a lot of guys from up north and guys that fish the Mississippi River that have done well in Florida. So I think if you learn how to understand and break down shallow vegetation, you can have success in Florida. What's up, Patrick? Everyone's pick for St. John's. I haven't really looked that close. That's a good question. I need to get on my fantasy to write my article. Question for Josh. When am I going ice fishing? As soon as somebody has them biting and gives me a call. Best team trail in Minnesota to fish. Guess depends on what best for you. I think you got to figure out what. If you want to compete at your level, do you want to fish for the most money? Do you want something that has a good rate of return on its paybacks? I saw that the Minnesota Team Trail just said that they're having a no entry fee team championship this year, which also can qualify you for the Bass Team Championship. The Minnesota TBF has a good one. There's quite a few good options. Fish are still biting good at Kentucky Lake. Why has nobody questioned what Porosnik is doing? Porosnik's on his own path. He wants to fish the elites. It's pretty clear. I don't know. My next day on the water, I don't know. We're playing a little. I got some things that I'm thinking about making a trip south. So hopefully March. But I feel like I can hear you, Josh. Why don't you try talking?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
You sound way better. Everybody was joking about how you sounded like you were like one of those anti-smoking emphysema ads.
Yes.
So if you want to go back and have a chuckle, you can go watch that rough spot in the replay and see what you sounded like.
Right. Sorry about that.
No, this is good. I think we're on the right path now. Cool. Yeah, we're good. Thumbs up. 28 choices for Rookie of the Year. I don't think they're all considered rookies, but there's going to be quite a few rookies. Yeah, everybody says this is good. So I talked about fantasy fishing. We talked about your 2021 schedule. So we kind of talked, you and I. Some people know we probably got a little bit of history, but so you actually joined the bass club I was in 2007, back in Minnesota. A guy with super wet behind the ear and big aspirations rolling into the club in his 17-foot red Rocket Ranger with a what did it have, a 115 Evinrude?
15.
What was it? Yeah. Was it Mercury or was it? I don't remember.
Mercury. It was Mercury. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe just like rewind back. Can you remember what was what was it like? What were you thinking? What was your plan? Like big aspirations rolling into your first Bass Nation club in 2007, which was, I got math, 14 years ago now.
Yeah, I was real green, man. I had just bought that boat. Brie and I had just gotten married. We had I always wanted to be a pro fisherman. I mean, I played hockey and I played some golf and stuff like that through high school and out of high school some. Golf. And I just kind of always wanted to be pro. I just didn't really have the money. Didn't have a boat. My parents were big into hunting and fishing and stuff, but not like, they'd run and go catch walleyes in a Lund or something like it. So it was just kind of a little bit tougher path for when it came to just trying to come up with the finances and stuff to do it. But Bree, she kind of made me a deal that once we got married, if I got a house, we could get a boat. So I did that. And then, man, I needed to figure out how to get into it. And, Yeah, I believe you were my first conversation. I looked through the Federation some and wasn't very familiar. You helped me through that process, as I know you did with, well, as I know you did with other people like that too, and just kind of got me into the club. Yeah, that was my very first tournament ever. I think was Deer Bone or one of those out in Wisconsin. Your dad yelled at Corey Brandt and I because neither one of us had our life jacket on midway through the tournament. We didn't know what the heck we were doing. Acted like, I think neither one of us had fished a tournament to that day, but we acted like we did. And we got paired together and then ran around. But it was good, man. The Gopher Bassmasters to this day is near and dear to me. One day I hope to be able to go back and pay it forward, for the other generations coming up and stuff, because it definitely got me on the path to do this. And from there, like we said earlier, man, I was just kind of always, my aspirations were big. I was in my mid-20s and just knew I needed to get going with it all. And you kind of helped get me into the weekend series stuff, and that was good. And then I had some success my first year doing it. I think I finished second in the points. Then I won one on the river the next year. And every time something good happened, I just put that money forward. A couple years later, Corey Brandt and I won one on Minnetonka and NABC, and that's what paid for my opens the following year.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, starting out, that was a true definition of fake it until you make it.
Yeah, for sure, man. Well, no, I mean, it was all learning then. It was it was. I didn't know much, man. I really didn't. I knew how to fish, like I knew how to bass fish, and that was my thing. But dude, up until the club, until I had that first 17-foot Ranger we were joking about, it was paddle boating across, my grandparents' cabin lake to get to the reeds on the other side and stuff like that. But the club definitely, you learn a lot and you learn it fast.
Yeah. Do you remember sitting in the hotel in Wisconsin, and we were talking about dock fishing, and you're like, what do you use for fishing docks fish? And I was like, bait caster, blah blah blah. And you're like, yeah, me too. Yeah, that's what I do.
Yeah, I think you actually said it the other way, and I asked you right away, like, what are you using? And then I remember it was an onslaught of backlashes from there on out for about 2 months. I could get them jigs in for sure.
Yeah. John Welsh wants to know, what was your day job back then?
Oh man, I've always been a bartender. Actually, I bartended. Well, if we go back further, out of high school, I got Marriott kind of spent a lot of time with me, training me in the hospitality industry. I liked it a lot, and but then it kind of became a point of hotels or restaurants. I went the restaurant route. To bartend, it was, you get cash rich quick, make cash, and then at the same time, I'm never working on you don't have 2 weeks of vacation time. You just either go to work or you don't go to work. If you don't go to work, you don't get paid. So in that in its own is a sacrifice, trying to make the house bills and stuff, but still that gave me the leverage to be able to go fishing. And then I also, I started guiding kind of right away. As soon as I even did some guide boats out of that Red Rocket we were talking about. Come a long way in my guiding since Lake O'Dowd in that little red boat. But yeah.
And a lot of trading away primed weekend shifts so you could fish tournaments and taking other people's crappy shifts at other times.
Yeah, I work like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, all day, breakfast through the end of dinner to make some money, and then enough to fish some opens and stuff like that for sure. Yeah.
So Logan says, would you recommend someone in high school fishing as a code their first year in the club level? Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, 100%. If I could, that's where I wish I would have went back and did that a little differently. There was, if we're saying it's been since 13 or whatever, we're going my 8th year opens. Like the amount of mistakes that I made just in so many things, from decision making to how long I was practicing to all that. If I could have done it like Chad Smith did it, that's going to be so. I mean, even when you look at Fighter, I mean, he's the best to come out of Minnesota, and he was a co-angler, man. I mean, it's just something that a lot of people don't realize, they don't think about, and you can learn an absolute ton. When you're another pro, nobody talks to you. When you're a co-angler, they'll tell you everything. So you learn, and like Chad always said, you also learn people's mistakes. You get to watch somebody else make that mistake for minimum of $1,800-$1,900, maybe up to $5,000. You know, you watch them make that mistake, and it helps you to not do that. So I definitely, the co-angler route, everyone wants to be the big bad pro. I totally understand. I was that guy too. But if I could have for at least 2 years ran around and did that, I would definitely have turned the hands back and did that for sure.
Yeah. And I think you did have a little bit of that, because I believe in the club back in the day, we had extra boaters. So you did get a chance to draw out some other guys in the club even back then, and fish with guys like my dad and Dave Ham and myself and guys like that. So for sure, and try to join a club or find a club where they rotate. Like, I don't like clubs where you pick one partner and fish all year together for learning. I mean, if you just want to like have fun with your buddy and do that, that's cool. But if your goal is really to learn, you want a club where you rotate and you fish with somebody different every tournament.
Yeah, 100%. That's why I say the club gopher is so good. I mean, when we were done, we all told each other what we were doing, where we were doing, how we did it. We just, you know, if you got your butt kicked, you at least left learning something. And I can tell you, I've left tournaments I've paid a lot of money at before and was as clueless leaving as I was showing up. And that's hard to take, you know, when you're trying to keep food on the table and all that kind of good stuff back at home.
Yeah. So Billy, I think we're going to put a pin in active targeting. We're going to get to the technical stuff a little later. So we'll just stay with the flow here. I feel like if we start talking active target and sonar, we're going to get off the rails. So we're going to, so we fished a fair amount. I mean, like, I feel like back then we were like, oh man, I mean, we probably fished 10, 15 times a summer, you and I. Like, we were every other weekend, like we were sneaking out after work. We were doing all kinds of stuff. So I wanted to, which reminds me, so we're almost up to 100. If you guys can share a little more. So thanks to all you guys that wrote out our bumpy spots there and hung with us. That's awesome. Let's get a few more people in here. That'd be awesome. But I wanted to show this thing. And I don't know if the sound will work or not, but do you remember?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I thought about it all day today when we were on the water.
Talk about two guys, like, this is 2010, us taking like our first shots at making fishing videos with our buddy Greg Huff. I think actually helped us out with the edit on this one. And that's our competitive nature from the start right there. But
I think you can still find that on my website. I don't think we ever took it down. I think if you just keep going backwards in time. But you remember how hard it was to get a video edited and stuff like that back then?
This thing is maxed out at 480p. But rocking the visor gang back in the day.
Nothing's changed.
We're gonna have to redo one of these so we can freshen this up this summer.
Yeah, we're doing the spring for sure. You know what's funny? Why don't we tell the story? So that was like Rich and I basically, I think it was catch 20, right?
We were trying to catch 20 pounds a day, and I think we ended up with, spoiler alert, I think we only had 18 or something.
18 and 3/4, if I remember right. But we had, you know, I don't know how people feel about it and all that, blah, blah, but it was a tournament. You know, it was a legit tournament for me and him. We probably should have done the wave release, all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, we put them in our live well. We got stopped by the man. We felt pretty sheepish opening up our live well.
Oh yeah, that's right. He did stop us. And you're like, "What are you doing with all those fish in our live?" I remember that now.
Yeah.
But speaking of which, and I thought about this, and this got me thinking about, because I'm pretty sure we caught most of our fish on these. Maybe not that color, but and that got me thinking, like, well, Mark just passed away like a couple weeks ago, and like, those were a big deal for you and I back in the day, like ring fries. We like built a lot of confidence and caught a lot of fish in them back then.
Oh, for sure. They're still big in like Oklahoma and Texas.
Oh no, they still catch them. They're still an awesome bait.
It catches the crap out of them. God, I got a bunch of those bags too. I got a bunch of them. Man, I still got like I was just looking at this. I got a giant box full of the actual Lake Fort ring tubes. I wonder if those would sell on eBay, since you're selling everything all the time on eBay.
Yeah.
Plastic's expensive to ship.
Yeah. You got to bulk them up and flat rate them. Yeah, the custom visor hack. I got some videos on that, John. If you want to learn how to make custom visor, I got you. And just we got one more here. I got
the river.
Yeah. What was I doing editing? Look at the the aspect ratio on this thing. Like,
Fakey beads.
yeah, like Josh was going pro back then. He already had his sticker, the Biovax wrap.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
funny thing, that was actually Medicine Lake. We were faking the boat ramp for the wrong place where we didn't actually fish.
Where were we at? Medicine?
Well, we launched Medicine later in that day because we tried to go smallies in the morning and launch, and then I just edited in. But like,
that's right. Still rock? Is that Navionics hat?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we're not gonna watch the rigging, but like, no, there's a good fish up here though. Oh.
But see, this stuff was Rich. This stuff was critical to getting where I'm at now. Like,
oh yeah, like we were trial by fire, making mistakes with awkward little camcorder video. I mean, this was before smartphones were even good. Like, yeah, it's just crazy. Yeah, so.
We were just picking up little cameras and stuff on each other.
Yeah, we were like buying these cheap little, like anything that's at HD Maxwell, like they were crap. They were complete junk. But so yeah, those are the good times.
Oh yeah.
All right, couple more things to throw it back.
Oh yeah.
Did you ever catch any fish on these stupid tungsten weighted?
No, is that the ones they actually have the little tungsten?
Yeah, they had the tungsten. Like, I don't know. There was a cool idea, but I don't know. I don't know that I ever. I mean, a regular fluke worked way better than these stupid things.
Oh yeah, fluke. Didn't they have a worm that was like that?
Yeah, they had a shaky head worm. They had all kinds of stuff.
That'd probably be pretty good on a little marabou jig. Dude, I still got so many of those jigs. They'll rot in a bag before. Like,
Green pumpkin brown at the hydrosilk too.
Yeah, it's all about the dang hydrosilk.
Yeah,
the stuff that'll mat if you get one use out of it, and then it mats up.
I still have some hydrosilk though. Actually,
talk about old confidence way back in the day though.
I hand tied one up for Pickwick.
Hydrosilk
on a new style head.
Yeah, I'm sitting on. I got a box of hydrosilk somewhere myself.
But man, we had a lot of confidence in that in the back in the day. That's for sure. All right. Well, Banger's here. What's up, Banger?
What's up,
let's see. Hey, Josh, Shimano guy said Will says he got on a Shimano because of you early on. Says you look like a baby. Gary says he just recently binge watched all your old Navionics videos. So that's cool.
Heck yeah.
This is a good one. We're kind of talking, and this actually leads into what I wanted to talk about. T. Chang says, what mistakes would you say most professional anglers make on the business side? And I kind of wanted you to kind of lay out how you set things up, because I feel like you made a lot of sacrifices early on, changed some things around with your lifestyle to set yourself up to have some longevity. Because like you said, you didn't hammer them your first couple of years on the opens. And if you wouldn't have set things up, with companies you partnered with and lifestyle changes, like you never would have had the chance to get where you got your skills and your confidence and your decision-making to where it needed to be. So I think just maybe walk through some of that, and that'll answer his question.
Yeah, definitely. What was his actual question, Rich?
I think he said, what are mistakes most young professional anglers make on the business side, which is basically that.
Yeah, definitely. There's two sides that I see that, especially today, that people are making some mistakes. I did. What works for one person is not going to work for somebody else, and you just kind of have to figure that out. So one thing that's great about fishing, like say the Bassmaster Opens, is Bassmaster Opens are good for your touring pros that are already pretty turnkey and can get to that stage and all that. But it's also good for the federation guys, the family guys that are at home that have full-time jobs, all that all of a sudden can justify, if they qualify to the elites, to hey, I'm going to take a run at this, a once in a lifetime opportunity. I'm going to go and do that. The other side of it is you have to become a professional on and off the water. And
Mm-hmm.
and I see mistakes on both sides, and I don't know if they're mistakes, just different paths. Some guys are all quiet and just want to worry about fishing and let the fishing talk for itself. That's awesome. I mean, that's like the way that we all would like to do it.
The Kennedy approach.
Yep. And then you have the other side that's just all social media. You know, I'm not going to put anybody in a category there at all, but it's just all social media. Maybe doesn't quite have the substance. So,
well, I mean, like, I think you could say like a Gerald Swindle. He's a good angler, but he's a great personality, right? Like,
yeah,
I'm gonna say, but he's a really good angler, but he's even a better personality, right? So, like,
he's not even going that far up. Like, he's still got two bass.
No, what I'm saying, like, if he was a guy that was quiet like a Cliff Pace, he'd still be popular, but he wouldn't be a superstar, is what I'm saying, right? Like,
basically, if you just spend
angler,
no, yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. No, definitely not. Like, he's got a bubbly personality. He's super funny. I mean, there's a reason why he's got a billion people that follow what he does. I mean, Swindle's definitely one of the best. But yeah, just you got to be good on the water. You got to be good off the water. I mean, none of us would have a job if you can't sell tackle. And if you can't move something, then none of us would have a job. I mean, that's just what brass tacks the whole thing is. So once you know that and establish it today, I mean, you know, I'm just always, I don't know what won't work for other people, but I know it worked for me. And I just am constantly growing. I'm nowhere near to the point where I think I'm going to get to and what I'm working for. But I also look at the Swindles and the Poliniks, and I've always, since the very start, I mean, from Gopher Bassmasters, I picked you and Ryan Brandt, your dad, and stuff like that, the top dogs. And that was the guy that I wanted to beat out there. We can be best friends, but I want to beat you. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I want to do. To the next level, to when it was Capra and Seth and all that at the state level, to now looking at guys like Polinick and Swindle and stuff, that not only are they hammers on the water, they are hammers off the water. And they're always putting up that bar. So what you got, you know, what somebody's got to do in business is I'll tell you this: stay loyal to sponsors as best as you can, because they're huge. And for me, I just picked the ones that I wanted to use. It is terribly tough to sell product and promote if you don't have confidence or don't want to be using that product anyway. So I'd rather work from the bottom up with the companies that I want to work with, hence Shimano, Sims, stuff like that, and that definitely helps me do my job, because I can't physically catch a bass without a Shimano rod or G Loomis rod or a Shimano reel. So I should have constant content all the time on its own. But you also have to be out there fishing, man. You got to be out there, because I swear they get better and better every single day. They just come in as people are able to travel around more and stuff like that. That I just think you have to be able to manage it. But like you said earlier, you know, for where I was at, Bree and I didn't have any kids. That was a big one. Basically made a choice to not, because they're expensive, you know, and it's a being home. And it's one thing to leave my wife at home. It's another thing to leave my wife and my kids at home. You know, it's just something that there's a lot of really good fishermen, yourself included, that could definitely be making runs out there on the national level, but have responsibilities back at home and stuff like that. So I just did some things that would work for me. Mm-hmm. It was kind of a dream for Bree and I both. So once I left my job, my goal was to get her out of hers. She kind of found her niche, and now we're off and rolling. But it seems like you need to have a fishing degree and a social media degree to be, you know, the top of the sport. That's for sure.
Yeah, you can buy a lot of OG Wig Awards for what it costs for skates and breezers and put a kid through hockey. I'll tell you that.
Oh, but, yeah.
And I think, and you know, not getting into like details, but there's several companies that you work with now that you were almost more of a contractor for, like just boots on the ground working more than a sponsorship. That, like, you know what I mean? Like, you started and treated it like a job, and it was a job to some degree that, you know, blossomed into bigger relationships. And that's kind of what, you know, like probably got you through some of those rough years, right? Because you kind of had you worked for these companies on the road, right? So that was a big part of it, you know, not getting into details of all that, but like, you know, think about those things. Like, you got to be able to set yourself up to, I think the biggest thing is, I think going back to his question, what I see is too many people think they're just going to go out and fish for 1 to 2 years and make it.
Yeah.
And you need to sit down and come up with a plan that's going to give you a 5+ year runway if you don't catch them, right?
No, yeah, even if you do catch them, man, you can still be in and out of the sport really, really quick. Definitely. And I remember telling Ryan Brandt my whole plan. You know, I had the companies you're talking about. I had BioVex and Navionics, and I those two companies, both of them, I did more of a, kind of help BioVex with some pro staff stuff. They're trying to get in the U.S. Navionics, I went to the stores, so that was hugely useful. I learned, what the sales side of the branding of all the companies I'm with is. But I also, I had an investment. I wasn't just putting money on my credit cards. Like I just took the money they're going to give me as reimbursement and threw that into the open. So they kind of had like a little bit of a double whammy, though I was nobody at the opens. But I remember telling Ryan Brandt, sitting there next to him, and he was like, "You're really going to go try to do all this and all that?" I'm like, "I am, dude. I'll probably get my butt kicked for the first 5 years, but if I can get through 5 years, if I can learn, I think I can, make this thing a living." And so far so good. I'm on that path.
Yeah. Logan says, what's the best Shimano bait casting reel that's, I don't know, budget, reasonably priced?
The Corrado K.
Yeah. I would say another one, the SLX XT, depending on what your budget is.
Yep. SLX is a good reel. The Corrado K 179, I think it's the best Corrado that they've come out with in a really, really long time. The Corrado's always been a good one, but this one in particular to me is really, really good for under $200, and it's like 179. But I beat the crap out of them, and they just keep working.
Yeah, and I think if the SLX, I'd bump up to that XT and spend that extra $30 if you can. That gets you a little extra. I think better gears than that one. Yeah. Yeah, no problem.
It's no Castaic though, no Shimano Castaic.
Super free, Castaic super free. Yeah. I still got one. I don't use it very much, but I still got one.
I know.
Let's see.
Anytime I see that, every now and then I get a co-angler or something that's got one, and I think about you right away. The old Castaic super free.
Yeah, that's cool. So obviously you and Bree work together. Is kind of a, she's got her thing, you got your thing, and you kind of got your joint thing right? Like, how much of the social is collaborative? Like, how much are you on your social answering questions? Like, how do you handle that?
Yeah, I'll answer all my questions. I'm usually the one, I do the posts and stuff. Bree's base, she does, runs the camper. Of course, everything back here, takes care of the dog, travel arrangements, all that kind of stuff. But then she's the muscle behind the photos and the video. She's good at doing the photos and stuff like that. And I mean, obviously, I did it a long time by myself on the road. I can snap a photo and stuff like that. But I do my own posts, and that's always me doing that stuff. Bree's a little bit more, home and private, and I'm more outspoken or whatever. And she's
the artsy one, and you're the technical one in the social.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, something like that. Actually, she's far more technical. I couldn't figure out how to get on this thing from my phone.
No, I mean like technical as far as like the specifics of the posts, not the tech savviness of the social.
Yeah, but it's great. You got guys like Brandon and stuff out there that are their camera people aren't cheap, and though at the same time, I get a bargain on Bree's price, but she did leave a good job, or she was making, $65,000-$70,000 a year to go on the road with me. And that was a hit. We are just getting to the point where we were doing, real good together, her job and then me fishing. And then we took another hit when she came, but now, things are going because we can produce that content. And we like to say we live rich, we get to go fishing every day. We travel around the country, but we're together, dude. That was by far the hardest part is being gone for a month, month and a half at a time. Now this time of year, instead of traveling back and forth through the bad weather, all that, we can just, stay down here together and all that. So for that part of it, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Any plans for a cooking segment? What you guys like?
Stuff going on. We got to start getting the cooking stuff going in the camper. That'll be more breeze. We're gonna get life in the bass lane. We've been shooting a lot. It'll be mostly around the tournaments and stuff like that, but we'll start branching out with some companies and stuff and doing some behind the scenes stuff a little bit more. But I at the same time, I don't want stuff to be a distraction. I'm not that good, dude. I gotta keep my nose and keep chasing the fish all the time. I'm after trophies more than ever. That's what I want. That'll get me to everything that I've been dreaming of getting. I just gotta go. I gotta win.
Yeah, absolutely. That's cool. Yeah. So there was a question earlier, like, where did you learn to cook? And I think I know, but like, I don't know.
Yeah, I got a cooking background. My dad did competition barbecue, a few years back when he was living in Colorado. So I kind of my way around the grill. Bree and I have been together since damn near high school, so we just kind of self-taught cooking. But I was in the restaurant industry, bartending, so I was always paying attention. My heart was in the kitchen, but the money was in the front of the house, unless you were going to go to be a big time chef or something like that. So just kind of that. But I swear to God, if Bassmaster or FLW or something isn't on the TV, then it's a cooking show. And
yeah.
And Bree kind of took it and ran with it now. So we're eating pretty good on the road. I don't know if people watch my stories more for my food stuff or for my fishing stuff, but I'm going to have to start paying more attention because people seem to like the cooking stuff too.
Yeah. John, I'm pretty sure everything Josh does is Josh Douglas Fishing.
Yeah.
Right?
Josh Douglas. Yeah.
So, and I'll put some links down in the description for some reason. If you guys don't know him and you know me, then I'll put some links in there afterward. We talked about this a little bit, Connor. Josh said the Corrado was his favorite budget Shimano, and I said check out the SLX XT. But his question: do you think the DC makes a big difference?
Yeah, I mean, Rich, back in the day when we were trying to get Shimano DC reels out of Japan and stuff, because that was the place to get them. Here's my thing with the DC: it'll help an angler that can't cast that great, and it'll help an angler that can cast great. So if backlashes are a common thing for you, it might be good. You can crank it down a little bit. You're going to lose some casting distance and all that, but I mean, you literally can, with the right settings, cast and never touch the thumb. Don't think you can do that on every setting, because you can also tune them to if you're a real good caster. And so where I like a DC is stuff like throwing jerk baits, because whenever you're throwing jerk bait, it seems to be really cold and windy and stuff like that. And I get a little bit more distance and stuff out of my cast. So I mean, DC, it's sweet. Plus, it makes a really cool noise every time you cast.
Yeah. So I would say for a new angler, it can help you all around and help you build confidence into using a bait caster. For an experienced angler, it has its niche applications.
I think so. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, more distance. You're just going to be able to fine tune it, and you're going to be able to get more distance and stuff like that for sure.
Yeah. So Gabe asks here, what were your top 5 producing baits last year? What 5 baits put the most bass or checks in the bank last year? Or a couple. I don't know.
Largemouth, smallmouth, does it matter?
No, just your 5.
Largemouth, I mean, largemouth, I did well. On Rayburn, I did really well with a swim bait on a Megabass head. Megabass makes like a 3/4 ounce jig thing, but it has a weed guard on it. It's big, and but it had the right hook. I was able to take it all apart, use it as like a jig head, and just put a swim bait on it and throw it in brush piles. I also threw the big biospawn worm, the 10-inch worm, into there, so that was always good. Florida, I did well on a chatterbait. I did well. I did a couple checks on Rayburn last year, rattle trap and stuff. But I mean, a Ned rig is big for me. We were talking about that earlier. Ned rig, swimmer. When we're talking smallmouth stuff, football jig, Ned rig, Carolina rig. That's the thing. It's a tough question because when you fish all across the country, it's like you got different boxes for different areas. Yeah, bass still kind of eat all the same things, but then there's little things about it that you're throwing a frog at one place, you're drop shotting at the next. But if I had to only pick 3 baits for smallmouth, I would say Ned rig, a single swimmer, and I guess a top water, like a shower blow or something like it. or a jerk bait. God dang it, I like it. I'll put the jerk bait in the largemouth side, and then I'm still a jig guy, dude. I throw a jig. I throw a jig a bunch and a buzz bait.
Yeah. So like classic tackle junkie, he named 75 things when we asked him for 5.
Yeah, and I can still go. Actually, like, yeah. I got some secret type stuff that works and all that kind of good stuff, but at the same time, it's just one of those deals that a bass eats. Bass eats what you're most comfortable with generally.
Yeah. Chris, Josh is mainly an FLW tour guy / MLF, but he's also fishing some opens this year.
Yeah, to answer that question, I know we broke up. I mean, my goal is to fish at the highest level, whatever it is, wherever it is, and to fish them all if I can. I try to put myself in a position to have some options at the end of the year, and it's a good thing, man. Options are good.
Yeah. So I mean, if you make it to the elites on the opens points in the division you're fishing, there's no decision, right?
No, I can't say that, man. I can say that a lot of it depends on schedule and stuff like that, and how everything goes. I can tell you it would be a zero decision for me to try to fish them both. And in all honesty,
okay.
That's what I would do. I would just I want to fish both, and the more I'm fishing, the more opportunities I'm going to have to over the next 20 years try to collect as many trophies as I can get lucky enough to get. So I swear I'm really not like the organization's going to win every single week, no matter where you're fishing. They're going to have a winner. As an angler, man, whatever that stage is, it's going to keep getting me better and put me in front. Is it? I got love for them all. I really, really, truly do. But yeah, my heart has always been I wanted to be an elite angler. You guys know that from Minnesota, all that kind of stuff. But I also walked off that FLW stage after taking a top 10 with every bone in my body, looking forward to coming right back to there again, like so many awesome anglers have done. So it's a lot harder question than that.
Sure. Yeah. So T Chang likes to ask the tough questions. He wants you to open up a vein and talk about that big one you lost at Rayburn.
Yeah, that one was,
Did you see it?
No, I never saw that one. Which was nice is nobody else saw my day 2. Actually, I lost like 2 that were over 8 that I did see, both on the drop shot. It was just one of those that were one of them, same type of deal that brush pile was, except he came out of the brush pile with my line still in it, and he busted like 5 feet on the back side of it, and he had a mouth like a 5-gallon bucket, and then went right back into the brush and eventually broke me off. That was just, I was fishing all around the right stuff. I had those fish really pegged. I mean, I tried to fish grass. That's what I wanted to do for the first day and a half I was there. And then the next 2 days I just idled, and I literally marked 25 brush piles, went back, made a cast on the first one, caught a 7-pounder, and never made a cast again. I just kept looking for them from that point on. But that fish, if I would have got it out, I would have won that tournament. I didn't know it then. I honestly didn't even know. It was weird. Every other time I've been on live, I've had the live boat in my boat. But because the opens have a co-angler and COVID, they're outside my. So the whole time, I'm surprised I wasn't swearing and stuff. I didn't even know I was technically on live. I had no idea how people were doing. There's a lot of us within eyesight right away, but then that crowd kind of broke up, and I saw them come and go, but. Yeah, I never did until I came in and Breed gave like the one up single up like I was in first, and then I got real. The
guy that didn't update his bass truck all day had a good bag.
And about that, he was actually standing right behind me in line for the whole hour I was in line waiting to weigh in, and he just didn't speak English, dude. He just didn't speak. I'd ask him, how. Did you got him? No, I don't know. He just said,
he just smile and nod his head.
Yeah, he just didn't know. And so I was like, I took that as, he doesn't have them, but he just, didn't know how to put it, wasn't, communicating that over or whatever. But yeah, no, if that one out of that brush pile came out, that would have been a different deal. But the drop shot was my last resort every time. But sometimes you just not going to get the bite. It still caught me a couple 4 and 5 pounders in that tournament, but that I landed. Yeah. I saw some heartbreak on that dang drop shot.
So it's like you're not even in the position to win if you catch the big ones without it, and then it's also the one that bites you because right. So
yeah, for sure.
So you think you've been on live a handful of times on the final day in opens and in FLW. Is the pressure any different? Do you block it out? What's that like?
No, honestly, for me, the pressure's better. You know, when I'm catching them every day that I start, my worst pressure is the morning before the tournament is when I feel the most pressure. You're just never really sure if what you have is going to stay and all that. If I catch them after day one, I start gaining confidence pretty quick that I can go back there and make more or change with them. I feel like I got good vibes. So once the live camp, like, that really doesn't bother me. If anything, it just makes me, live it up a little bit more and make sure you don't make a stupid cast and backlash. That's about it.
I think if you make it to day 4, your confidence is already here, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, exactly.
If you're in the position to win, you've already been making good decisions all week. You've been catching them. Things have been going your way. I think the last thing you're worried about is a camera at that point, because you're kind of dialed and focused by that point. So
yeah, and the camera, looking back at all them videos that you and I shot 13, 14 years ago, I mean, all that helps, man. I remember sitting there and Greg Huff putting up with so much, just trying to shoot a little video. I mean, I'm talking 30 takes, 40 takes, trying to spit out a sentence. That kind of stuff really helps. When you do got the camera in your face during bigger moments and stuff like that, for sure. But like my first live moment was in 18 on Kentucky Lake, but there's pressure. Lambert already lapped the whole field.
Yeah.
Like we were fishing for second place, so that winning thing wasn't there. Like it was, Kissimmee, I kind of felt it. I thought maybe I'd have a shot. I got the nerves a little bit, but no, I usually am pretty excited, man. If I'm catching them and feel good, I'm usually pretty focused on that.
Cool. So there was a couple questions about videos and webinars. You got anything in the works this year that's new, or you just kind of keep doing what you've been doing for the channel and for webinars, or with Seth and all that?
Yeah, Seth and I, we always talk about doing the webinars. The problem is we fish different circuits and we're 3 hours apart. We live, it was a lot easier when he was my next door neighbor to pump him out. Now he lives closer to you. So we talk about it. We always want to. It's just a matter of us actually getting together, and now season's starting, so I don't see it happening anytime too soon. But at the same time, definitely, webinars are something that we got to bring back. And then life in the bass lane. That's I've kind of always done a recap, but we're gonna try to keep it like a little bit more of a series, a little bit more of an in-depth look of what practice was like. She's gonna be in the boat with me.
Sure.
Some of that, kind of see what I'm going through, mentally, and then the tournament, and then obviously afterwards, we'll get into what I used and stuff like that. And then people like what's on my deck. People like that. I like it. I remember digging. We still do dig through the internet trying to find and learn anything you can, like it. So just simple things like what leader line you're using or what treble hook you use on a certain jerk bait. It's pretty popular, so I'm going to definitely keep them coming. And then I like doing the product stuff. I mean, more than anybody, Rich. One of my biggest goals in life was to have a fishing show, and it's just like the new age fishing show isn't like the the old TNT ones or nothing like that.
Yeah.
Mostly online and stuff like that now. So you kind of got to create your own for most of that. So that's kind of the goal, and doing the product stuff for Scheels and all that kind of stuff, and my sponsors. That's something that Bree and I enjoy doing for sure.
Yeah. So you're a little more production to your tournament coverage this year is what it sounds like.
Yeah.
And then, hey, if you need, I can host you and Fighter. I can set this up, a 3-way cam. So if you need me to facilitate it, just let me know.
Well, yeah, definitely. We might have to. I mean, that's just probably the problem. You're right. I never thought about. We never even really talked about not being in the same place when we do it. So
I'll moderate. I'll be a little guy down the corner. I'll put you guys up on the big screen. We can roll it.
Yeah, they're popular, man. People really like the webinar series, and to be honest with you, I like doing seminars, webinars, all that stuff's all right. It's a good time. So we'll definitely get them back on track.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I started doing these back in April, and these just are a blast to me. I mean, even if it wasn't like doing well in the channel and good for the channel and the growth. But like, it's awesome. Like having these conversations, hanging out with guys. I mean, once we get into it, we could be across the deck in the garage having a beer and it wouldn't feel much different, to be honest. So
they always are. That's always like one of those things like, oh, I got a deal to get on. And by the end of it, somebody's got to shut you up and tell you to go away because we'll just sit there and talk. It's just talking fishing, man. It's what we all like to do so dang much is talk about bass fishing. That's for sure. And you've been killing it, dude. I like the little video deal you got going, and you've been having some awesome guests coming on and stuff like that. Bradley Hallman, one of my favorites. Bradley for quite some time, and looked up to his fishing ability coming out of Oklahoma and stuff like that. So he's you've been having some awesome guests, dude. Keep it up.
Yeah, it'll be cool. Clark Ream next week, and I don't know if you know Clark.
I know Clark.
He'll be good.
You and Clark go way back for kind.
We do a little bit, but he's a talker, and he'll give you the honest answer when you guys ask him questions next week. He's a great interview. Not that, I mean, most of these guys are, but he's a little something spicy about him.
He'll throw you a little better bone.
Little better. He's a little edgier when he talks and gets. So it'll be good.
Well, he's been doing it for a long time, dude. He's been around. He fished the elites for a long, long time. He's been around the block. He knows what's going on.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. You got any new partners for this year? Or is it all pretty much the same portfolio as last year? Or?
Yeah, I tend to stick with the same. No, Blue Storm life jackets are pretty nice. There's always kind of only Onyx and Mustang before, Mustangs are nice. Blue Storm's actually a Japanese company, kind of like the Mustang of Japan. And they came under the label Blue Storm. But other than that, no. I did switch. Yeah, I mean, there's some. I'm running a Ghost this year. Okay. Finally went all in on the Lowrance product. I'm pretty dang happy, man. I know people want to talk about active target. I basically wish I was fishing more. I've been trying to catch up on lost time. I did have live sight and actually utilized live sight. It was nothing. It was grade A. It was Gen 1 Panoptics is exactly right. When I did the Scott Martin challenge with Scott and I was in his boat on Mille Lacs. He had Gen 1 Panoptics at the time and or was it Panoptics and it was on that level of caliber. So it still was useful. I used it to take that top 10 at the Cup fishing brush piles. I used it for the brush piles on Rayburn. I broke down coming back from St. Clair. But this year, I was one of the dumbasses that made that giant run all the way across Erie through the Detroit River and into St. Clair. Even though it was 10 minutes away from the launch, dropping on boulders like I like to do. But still, I made that big run and I caught him good, using live sight. So I have some familiarity with it, but active target's the real deal. I knew it was going to be. I'd known it was coming for quite some time. Saw some of the stuff coming out of there, but now I actually have it on my boat. It's but it's just another thing. But one thing I want to talk about too is the Ghost. Like, it's super quiet and it's a mile an hour faster. It's brushless, it's cableless. I can't tell you how quiet that trolling motor is. And when you're in a place like Florida, like Okeechobee, they don't really care about an active target or a live scope. Now, mark my words, I'm sure it'll get one in the middle or in the channel or something by somebody using it. But at the same time, when you're in shallow vegetation, it's more my active target right now is more of a weed collector than anything. But that trolling motor, on the other hand, is super stealthy, dude. I think that's going to be the big movement, man. I think you're going to start to see, as everyone now is talking about all these transducers clicking in the bass, they're hearing them, they're reacting to them, where 2 years ago on St. Clair, they'd come under my boat all day. Now they didn't necessarily want to do that last year when I was in St. Clair. I'd watch them come and then they'd go off to the side and have to spin the trolling motor around to figure out they didn't want to use the boat. They didn't want to go under the boats. And so with that, and when I took, I'm jumping all over, when I took fifth on Kissimmee, I mean, I had my graphs off. You know what I mean? Like, oh, and it's a big deal. You know, if you jump out and tread water next to your boat, you'll hear it. You know, you'll hear it going. So stealthiness is huge, and I think you're going to see a big push in them trolling motors to how can we get in thicker stuff, and how can we be even quieter, because that's the key to catching a lot more bass. And one thing to be said about that, Bree and I one day we're coming in, there's a bunch of lily pads. We dropped the troll. I fished them all. Like, when they fished them hard, you know, she was recording me with the video camera, and got like 2 or 3 bites, rats, nothing big. Dropped my power poles. We split a sandwich, and I jumped back up on my deck without touching the thing. It had been 10 minutes. This was all accidental. And I must have pulled 12 of them out of those different pad clumps that I hadn't had before. And I have to believe that was just purely because I hadn't moved in 10 minutes. You know, that them fish are trained. Them shallow water fish, of all things, they're trained. And I think so. Yeah, no mini changes. I'm not running the Minn Kota. I'm running the Ghost. Ran a Minn Kota my whole life. Have zero bad things to say about them. But at the same time, I'm very, very impressed with how quiet the brushless motors really are.
Right. And a big, I mean, part of this going down to Florida is tuned in with your live target and learning about the Ghost, and like getting these new products dialed in for when it counts. Right. So
that's mainly, yeah, you know, showing up. Yeah, heck, I don't care. You know, it's you have a problem no matter which way. Before it was, you know, 5-6 years ago, I was trying to keep a boat running and to be able to get down there. And now you get a new one in, and they're never quite 100% the way you want them. You know, one power pole goes up, the other one doesn't, type stuff. You got to fit, you know, just you got to re-rig it. You put a negative wire where you weren't supposed to put a negative wire or something like that. But that's another thing too. I recommend everybody, especially if you're going to start jumping up, fish these national tournaments that have $2,000 plus entry fees and stuff, to when you're rigging a boat and stuff, try to do it yourself. Or, you know, Steve Catlin and Warner's Dock helps me a ton. But at the same time, I'm sitting right there. That way I know where everything is to try to fix the problem on the fly. Because if anyone has learned the hard way, it's definitely me. I've learned the hard way. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, you don't necessarily have to do it yourself, but you better know how it's done so that you know what to do. Because boats don't, I mean, we beat the bejesus out of them down the road, across the lakes, the things we put them through. Not all the components are designed to handle it, you know, as much as they try to engineer it. We just put them through stuff. And that's a big thing. Like, whether you're fishing local tournaments or at the top level, like, being able to get yourself out of a jam and grab a pliers, a screwdriver, and some electrical tape and get yourself back to the weigh-in is a big deal.
No, it is. It's a big deal. And just trying to figure out where something is. And now even like the one for me that I'm trying to, you know, 2-day practices for the pro circuit, for the tour. 2-day practice is tough, man. You know, it's I don't know. You're gonna have to rely on instinct. And all my better tournaments that I've had, I figure something out during the tournament for the most part. So I'm gonna have to rely on that a lot. But yeah, definitely making sure your stuff is flawless and it's working, so I can utilize those 2 full days of practice and all that kind of good stuff is big time important.
Are you gonna pre-practice because of that or not?
Yeah, no, I'm mainly because I haven't been to a lot of these lakes. You know, Okeechobee, I've only been once. Smith Lake, I've been a couple times, but if there is a fish, you know, those lakes are the ones that beat me up. Like, it's where I need to go and park my camper for a while. Spotted bass hurt me every single year. I don't know if I've actually even got a check in my life on just true spots. I've been close, you know, like Martin, I missed by an ounce this year, missed a check. A good point getter, but at the same time, you know, you missed a payday, and that's 1 ounce for 10 grand. A hard.
Didn't you do well at Logan Martin once?
Yeah, but I caught large. The first day I finished 14th in Logan Martin Open.
There was a few spots, but it was majority large amounts.
All spots. The second day they completely left. I didn't know what to do, and there were spawners even at that. And then I ran back and caught a 4 and a 3 pound largemouth on stumps. But yeah, no, they're spots. I don't know why. I catch them every day in practice. But you know, I think I don't think like the fish. You know, I don't know why. I really don't. You know, they're the furthest thing from anything we fish in Minnesota, but still there's plenty of other guys from Minnesota that catch them better than I do. So the spotted bass factories are definitely a place I plan to spend some time. But yes, I do. You know, Lake Murray I've never been to. There's a few of those lakes you fall I've never been to. And even I do generally pre-practice, but most of the time I don't ever make a cast. I really don't. The preconceived notions will kill you. And I just want to know where everything is. Where's their good docks? Where's their good laydowns? Where's their grass?
Where's the gas station?
The boat ramp, man. The boat ramp, like all that kind of stuff is just nice to spend a couple days and then get out of there with a little bit of idea of what, where's the clean water, where's the dirty water, stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, like it sounds simple, right? But belt ramps, gas stations, tackle stores, like 2 days of practice, you can't be spending 30 minutes finding gas. You know what I mean? Like those things add up in a 2-day practice. Like
no, it adds up huge. That could be that hour or half hour you missed could have been the half hour that you got that right bite that triggered something. So the pre-practice, again, I don't cast much. I really don't. That you end up chasing an old thing, and that'll hurt you worse, I think, because then you're chasing bites that are phantom bites that you're not going to get again.
Yeah, you waste those 2 days checking stuff that you shouldn't be checking.
Exactly. And again, I think that's why FLW tour anglers, once you get into that rhythm of fishing at a tour level, well, it can be the elites too. Once you get a rhythm on that on like a tour level, you learn that you only get 2.5 days to practice to find the fish. You need to keep finding them, and fishing just Toyotas and opens and stuff like that doesn't necessarily get you just gets you tour ready, because you can practice for 10 days, but Fighter or Polinick or them boys are going to serve you your lunch. Or Brian Thrift is going to just eat you up if that's how you practice to find fish. If you need that much time, because if it ain't working for him, he's going to figure it out in 5 minutes. It seems like, and retool and be on them. So again, I just think knowing what you could face, so you have some ideas and come up with a game plan, but at the same time, you don't want to have too much information. Thinking you're going to get bit because you got bit there before doesn't always translate. Heck, half the time that don't translate from practice into the tournament, let alone from pre-practice to the actual tournament.
For sure. Do you think there's any difference in the way fish respond to traditional 2D sonar versus front facing? Like, are they less wary of the front facing? Is it a different frequency? Have you seen anything?
Well, I'm still pretty new with the front facing. I mean, I'm going to guess they're going to get they sound the same. The transducer sound the same to my ear. So I don't too big of a deal. I think mostly the shadows of the boat and stuff like that are also keeping them from going right at that. No, I don't necessarily think that they are, but I mean, I've heard guys say it, and that's what I like about the forward-looking technology, even more so than catching the fish, is take a lake like Mille Lacs that I know really, really well. If it's spring and I can see the fish with my eyes, I can quickly tell you, and I'm not talking about bedfish, they're bedfish. Cruisers, I can throw an array of baits at them that day and figure out what it is that they want to bite, and then run with that the rest of the time. Well, having eyes under the water like that to see things moving around you live is huge too. So I can pull up to a couple of my good dots that there's always a school around here, and I can start throwing baits at them, and I can just watch the way the fish react. A lot of times they'll watch your bait go down, you'll watch them take off, the same as a post spawn cruiser would if you chuck a Senko at him when he is 10 feet away from you. Just away they go. They don't want it. And then other ones you see them come in, look at it, and then go away. And then other ones that just connect. And it seems like, okay, no, I got your number a little bit. I got you.
So you can pretty quickly determine, like, okay, they're coming in on it, but they're not eating it. I maybe just need to change the color. If you throw it in there and disappear, you're like, okay, we need to like go finesse, or I need to show them a reaction bait, or show, right? Like, okay, they're spooked by the tube. I either know to go throw a fly or a jerk bait or a swim bait, right? Like,
yeah, they didn't like that, right away, the way they react and turn away and stuff like that.
But if they show some interest and don't commit, then you just need to tweak it or throw some bang on it.
Bang will get the job done. You don't be telling everybody the secrets. No.
Nice. Sean's got a good question. He's one of our ride or dies. He's a bass fishing stream junkie. What are your thoughts? How do you just, I mean, outside of what we just talked about and seeing the fish react, if you don't have live target, when do you go drop shot versus Ned?
For me, well, first of all, in the spring and the post spawn, we still have all that crap, that algae that's growing on the rocks and stuff like that. So a drop shot's your better choice because the Ned rig's going to get all rigged up. But again, it depends on the fishery and what the bait is. For me, most of the time, if the smallies seem to be coughing up a lot of crawdads, then I want something generally more on the bottom. If they're eating a lot of bait fish and they're coughing up little tubies and perch and stuff like that, then I tend to go with the drop shot. The drop shot is also real good, in the post spawn and stuff like that. A weightless piece of plastic is a good choice. But I haven't found where one or the other. If it's deeper, I tend to go towards the drop shot because I can get a 3/8 or a half ounce weight. And definitely if I'm using my electronics to see them. So not if I'm casting to them, but if they're just coming under my transducer and I have that amount of time to get a bait to them, then I tend to lean towards a drop shot because again, I can put a half ounce weight on it and just drop it on their face like that.
That's the biggest thing for me is I'm probably, if I don't know anything, I'm going to probably go drop shot because I can fish it faster and more efficient. I mean, the Ned absolutely catches them, but that's kind of I'd rather catch them some other way because it's just so slow, right? I mean, you can fish a heavy Ned head, but that oftentimes takes the appeal away of the Ned, right? So
exactly.
This is an interesting question, which brings back some horrible memories.
Who is that?
I don't know. Maybe he's fishing the league. Maybe he's looking for juice on the NFPFL. I don't know.
That the one where we thought we were like
we thought we were going to blow away the tournament because we found so many fish in a canal and nobody else was in there.
It was clean, and we found it like late in practice,
like 4 o'clock, and we had to be off the water by 4:30. Like,
I didn't even know how to run a boat then. I think I speared a wave like 10 times just trying to get to it. Yeah, that was I think the one and only time I've ever been there.
So yes. That's the only time I fish it in this. Well, I guess I fish in BFLs. So I've actually fished it a fair amount in the spring. But yeah, so why we were chuckling, Josh and I fished one season in the NABC, which I don't know how we could have possibly done worse than we did.
Not bad,
As two guys that, not to brag, but probably like in the local tournaments, cash checks more than half the time, conservatively. Like we were cash check cashers back in, right? Like,
oh yeah.
And you put us two together, and 1 + 1 = -4 that year. It didn't go well.
We didn't have much time. We didn't practice a whole bunch. We give it a solid day of practice, something like that. For some reason we just never had our tournament that year. It was still fun though.
Yeah, but so God, you can fish that like so many ways. It's such a diverse system. You can catch them deep. You can catch it fishes more shallow than not all year. The Bago in the system. There is some offshore smallies. There's so many things you can do. It's a fun place to fish. And I've actually, outside of that tournament, I've actually done pretty well there.
Well, I think that canal killed us.
We were so locked in, and then I think the wind switched and it blew muddy water in there, and they weren't quite locked on, and they just left.
Back there, we didn't even consider another boat. If one other boat beat us and they idled, that they would muddy the whole canal going. Yeah. We got in there and it was all of a sudden muddy. We couldn't see nothing.
We couldn't leave. We just thought, well, they'll settle down. We'll be super quiet. We won't move around, and
There's 20 pounds in that thing the day before.
Yeah. That was nuts. Bailey wants to know, what's your hair jig rod spec setup?
Yeah, it's a 901 NRX. Are you talking hair jig? We're talking Marabou, right?
Yeah. Smalley.
The best one that I love the 901 NRX. They also make an IMX Pro. I think the NRX is a little softer yet. That's the key, is a really soft rod. So it's like 7.5, 901 be 7.6, 7.6 medium light action. I'm using 8 pound. That's usually I use Power Pro SSV2 line, which is real soft, supple. Power Pro, makes no noise to the guides. It's an awesome line, but I don't use it. I use 8 pound regular Power Pro just because it can cast a mile, and it's just really light. And yeah, and then a Shimano Accents fourth. All my spinning reels are 4,000 sizes that I use. You know, I might guide with some 3,000s and 2,500s, but 4,000s are the only ones that I use for myself. And a fighter fly is perfect. And just put a little piece of the bottom side of a Senko right on the fighter fly. It has a little spot for it, and then that'll help you just with casting distance. You know, get a little bit more plastic to cast.
Yeah.
8-pound fluorocarbon leader.
Yeah. So pretty similar to what Gussie said last week. He fishes a 901, big spinning reel, similar braid, and then he ties his own versus the fighter fly. So other than that,
right. Yeah.
On the same page.
Yeah.
So Chad wants to know 3 takeaways for a complete river rookie. And Josh won his first big tournament on the river, so he's pretty much a river rat.
Yeah. Yeah. What's it? 3 takeaways for?
And he's specifically talking about the Mississippi River because I know Chad. Well, I know he's asking for his son Drew.
Yeah, you know, similar. The river has some similarities to Florida down here. Certain vegetation is going to equate to bottom hardness, deer tongue, stuff like that, eelgrass. So knowing your vegetation, current is going to be super huge. Those fish are current orientated fish. Even the ones that are in the back still have some sort of current level that they're dealing with. And then water clarity is going to be a big one. Something that fluctuates a lot. You know, as a general rule of thumb, I'm going to say that your river fishermen are going to have the better potential to be a turnkey pro at the national scene, just because one, their water's never same day after day after day. It ain't like Lake Minnetonka where you can probably still lean on the same waypoints. You know, I know the lake's changed a lot, and I don't want to start that whole deal, but it's a waypoint lake in general, and where the river, that waypoint, just like down here in Florida, you might as well delete them and just start over. So water clarity, understanding the different types of vegetation and what that means, like for bottom hardness, and then current. I gotta be the top 3.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. Current, especially for like smallies, you're looking for harder current, but you're still looking for breaks. You're always looking for bait on the river. For largies, you're looking for that cleaner water where the current, or where you're filtering something, especially up here where you got vegetation. But you're still, that current is still going to set them up in a particular spot. Any tips for fish spawning smallmouth when you can't see them? Dirty water.
Yeah, I mean, they're biters still, so you got it. I'm trying to think of when I can't see them. Yeah, okay. Same baits, same things. You know, they're natural biters when they're on the beds more so than a largemouth on its own. So this should be probably not easier to catch, because they're easy to catch if you can just see that they bit your bait. But yeah, it's going to be the same thing as a largemouth you can't see. You know, you're just going to have to repetitively keep casting the spot that you think that there's a fish on the bed, and if it keeps picking up your bait, then you can kind of zero in on where he is until he actually grabs it. But then I'd probably, you know, I'd be less into the whole Ned rig thing and drop shot, and I'd probably just pick up like a Texas rig tube or a Texas rig beaver. And that's talking about the river, like pool 2. That's where we always went for the club, right? Yeah, pool 2.
Drag a tube.
Yeah, dragging a tube for smallies that you can't see, you know, and they're there, you know, they'll pick it up and you're like, oh, there's one. You flick it back, keep flicking it, and all of a sudden you'll watch your line run off. So, you know, I'd probably go to a bait caster more so with something like a beaver or tube on it if I can't see them.
Yeah. The only thing I would say is that you can be a little more aggressive, harder. They're a little more aggressive. They'll show themselves quicker than a largemouth will, I think. So
definitely. Yeah.
I think like if you're searching for them, I think running like a pivot head, biffle head type thing would be a good way to figure out where they are. And then you could slow down and grind on them with a tube.
Definitely, because that'll get you, and I'll tell you this too, where you get one bite, there's probably more of them around.
They definitely spawn in clusters. Yeah. I mean, largies do to some degree, but smallies even more so. They're almost like bluegills in that respect.
Especially them river ones, for sure.
A couple questions on why the 4,000s.
Yeah, that's an easy one. Back in the day, Andy Young was the one that got me on it, and then Seth was a Daiwa guy. Their 3000s, I think, are bigger as a general thumb. But it was funny because I was always I get it. The 2500 is just so pretty.
Feels right. Like it looks right. It feels right on there. It looks like
Yep. But the reels, one, they're getting so much lighter now that they actually balance out a rod better. And I'm using a little bit bigger rods a lot of times, like a 7.3, 7.2, something. But I remember right before I signed up for the Opens, I went into a Bass University in Chicago. And it was Brent Ehrler was there, Hackney was there, Iconelli was there, Zona was there doing a deal, and all of them across the board. But in particular, Brent Ehrler and Zona, both spinning rod throwing fools, both had 4,000 size reels on there, and it's a no brainer, dude. They have a bigger beefed up drag. The spool is wider around it, so it has less line twist, which isn't a big deal with braid, but it's still there. I mean, you can still get some line twist depending on the bait you're throwing and all that, and it'll definitely cast further. Less resistance coming off the spool when you throw it. So beefier drag, and they pick up line quicker. So when you set the hook, and at the same time, not like with a bait cast, everyone wants an 8-speed when they're flipping because they can catch up line quick. Well, a spinning drag, even more so, they're pulling line. They're pulling drag on you, so to be able to pull it down and then have that drag to get on top of them, the 4,000 just makes it a lot more sense to me. And then when you use Shimano's, they're already super light, so it don't really matter.
Yeah, you nailed it, and you can skip further also.
Yeah, definitely can skip further. Yep.
Man, there's so many good questions. Did you ever look at the league? Did that ever cross your mind to try to fish the league? NFPFL, LMFL?
Yeah, I mean, no, not it didn't necessarily. I wasn't a giant hurry, but again, the same thing, man. I just want trophies, and when I'm fortunate enough to earn them, nobody can take those away from you when you get them. Nobody can say that they're not earned. It ain't nothing like that. So if a schedule came out and it worked, and I looked at those dates and it worked, yeah, man, I would fish. I just want to fish as many high profile tournaments as I can while I'm fortunate enough to do it. I mean, if you can sit around and wait to get on, for one particular league, and I think now you got to qualify for them all anyway. So may as well dabble and try to get there, because it's just like I said, for me, it's just more opportunity. That's really all I want is the opportunity.
Yeah.
But no, I never seriously considered it, though. At the same time, I think it's a good thing, and I think they obviously got a lot of steam, head of steam going over there. That. So again, for both the anglers, options are always good, and for the fans of the sport, options are good because it's just more bass fishing.
For sure. Yeah, this is an interesting question, and I've pondered about this as well. So we already talked about how John Cox is basically like this wizard, and he's basically my hero, because every time I see him catching them, he's like, his electronics are turned off, or he didn't even mount the side scan on his boat, or he sometimes gets a little short credit. He can do more than he lets on, for sure, but he does have a ton of success fishing shallow, and he has a system. Any thoughts on why you think he has so much success running his program shallow, and why more guys haven't been able to duplicate it and what he does?
Well, first of all, Cox is no rookie.
Oh no, yeah,
dude's younger than me, but he's been around for just a long time, and I didn't realize even until I was watching old FLWs from a while back, and Cox was on there just trying to watch, different Okeechobee tournaments and stuff like that. So he's definitely been around. He's been around the block. He's had his fair share up and down, but man, the dude is out of lick, and he's phenomenal. First thing about Cox is he's definitely better and knows more than he goes off to say, but it's something I look up to. I consider myself a versatile angler, but not great at any one particular thing, right? Like Cox has got eyes that are like a gift from God. Like he can see fish. So
Mhm.
that's a big one for him, and that relates not just to bed fishing, but to shallow water fishermen. Then it seemed like he kind of went all in on it with the aluminum boat thing, where I never saw that guy at a boat ramp. Like, have no idea what boat ramps he uses. Never actually see him launch, except for maybe at the Harris chain or something like that. He's somewhere else on a different program. But then again, then he just continues to surprise you, because then he's on the St. Lawrence catching them, doing them, on probably something that a smallmouth fisherman like myself would have just blown right by and not even gave it a second thought. But he makes it work. I mean, the dude is an uber talented angler, both shallow and deep, and I really think he's a lot smarter than he wants people to think that he is when it comes right down to catching bass, because he's freaking really good at it. But yeah, he did. I think he won a cup or a AOY or something that year. Didn't he not have no electronics or something like that on his
Yeah, he pretty much won AOI. I don't know if he did or he just about won AOI with basically just mapping on his boat.
like won the cup that year or something. Yeah,
it was crazy.
Yeah. He's got a good tax, man, I'm sure.
But he also, like Kennedy, he kind of like, oh yeah, I guess it has got, like they just kind of laugh. You try to ask them those serious questions and they just kind of like play it off and kind of skirt it and say, I don't know, just a little bit like.
But that's the thing. I think I don't think he has any problem with telling people, and teaching. He's not that secret of a dude from what I know. But I think John Cox fishes the moment.
Yeah.
More than so many anglers out there really do. I seriously think that dude is willing to just kind of fish the moment and go fishing, and then confidence is definitely the best piece of tackle you can have in your boat at any time.
A couple other things that I've heard him say is that a lot of times he drives around lakes and looks for things that if it looks right, he might come back and fish it. And he doesn't fish a lot, from what I understand, in practice. Like if he sees fish in an area, he'll come back and figure out how to catch them. And he's also seems like he's a big believer in not showing fish lures in practice that he intends to fish during the tournament. I've heard him say those things. So he definitely has some like intricacies that obviously work into his system. And some of those things, like not getting a bite in practice, is a hard thing to just. It's easy to say, not an easy thing to do. To be, you know what I mean? Like, that, like, so he's definitely got some kind of things in his system that are a little under the radar for that shallow water fishing.
Yeah, I'll tell you this. I've obviously not had near the success he has with it yet, but I want to hope that one day I'm following a little bit in those footsteps. Like, I've just learned during practice of practice, that is not the tournament. You know what I mean? And though we want bites, a day not getting bites, like you said, can be more of a learning lesson than days of getting bites. A lot of times it can tell you where not to go and stuff. But even at that, fishing just takes a lot of time. And I've learned that's a big difference in those first 3 years of fishing opens and stuff. Like, I'd get a bite in practice, dude, and I wanted to know everything about that area, and I wanted to know where I was going to get all my bites. Heck, now I get as soon as I get a bite, if I get it in the first 15 minutes, I just turn around and leave. Like, there's fish here. And,
maybe like graph around a little bit on your way out on the way to the next spot.
A little bit, poke around. Sometimes you got to get on the trolling motor just to get a vibe. See what you're seeing in the water and stuff. But that's something, like you were saying, that I am learning, that in practice, sometimes moving water and just seeing what options are out there help you make game time decisions, and those are money decisions. Game time, all the better. So it's a strategy that I've seen work for him and a lot of other really good anglers, and one that I've been trying to adapt into my game as well.
Yeah, I spent 3 days up on Vermilion figuring out where I wasn't going to fish in the tournament, to be honest. And then the same thing on Pickwick. I had 2 sections of the lake. One day I got some bites. The other day I didn't get any bites, and I just doubled down on the area, expanded that water. I mean, it's like figuring out what that system works for you is a big deal.
Yeah, I learned a real valuable lesson in an open on Seminole once. It was a fall tournament. My practice was terrible. I flipped up a 4-pounder punching hydrilla on this big flat. Next day I went back in there for like a little half day, and I pulled on one more bite. In the tournament, I started on like a buzzbait thing, nothing. Went in there and cracked them. Had a good first day. Second, just flipping, expanded on the area. Ended up with like a football field full of matted hydrilla that kind of all started to make sense during the tournament. Day 2, I lost a couple right away in the morning, and then it was like they just shut off, right? My knee-jerk reaction at about noon was to start scrambling. But I just kept telling myself, like, where are you going to go? Like, I've done it long enough now. And this was an open. This was going back, probably 4 years ago, 5 years ago. I think it was the year before I started fishing the tour. And it was just a key day, because I remember telling myself that second day, midway through the day, where are you? You got to go, you got to go, you got to go. They're not biting. You're going to blow it. And then telling myself, like, where are you going to go? It's going to be a scramble fest. There's fish, button down and catch them. And that's what I did. And what in the last hour, I got like, 4 bites, called once, and enough. I think I took 13th, something like that. Just missed the top 12. And again, it's just those game time decisions. But the biggest thing about it is just fishing a lot and then trusting your gut. Because if you can look around, like I spent time on Seminole looking around, not getting bit anywhere else. So it's like, sometimes when you're fishing, you're always wondering what's around the next corner, or are they biting good on this side of the lake and all that. Well, if you kind of check through all that stuff and where not get bit, you definitely settle down on the stuff that you have. And a lot of times in tournaments too, when you're a one day tournament angler, you're looking for that 20-pound bag and all that, and that's just not that realistic, even for the most successful anglers. 12, 13-pound days get you paid,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes you got to decide when that's going to happen.
Yeah. And the flip side, though, I mean, that can go both ways, though, because I know one of the things Panger has been preaching a lot lately just is like, if you're thinking about the next spot, you should have already left. So you can play that both ways. You know what I mean? So
no, that's what the point is, and that's in that particular time I stayed. But it's more so what I'm saying is it's that gut,
Yeah.
and you got to what it is. I didn't feel good about leaving. I was scared that I wasn't going to catch them, so I was going to go and cut. The chicken was head cut off mode, trying to grind up bites. Where instead I stayed. Other tournaments, same deal. The one you talk about, spots, I abandoned them, ran to largemouth that I'd never fished for before, caught a 4-pounder and a 3-pounder, and went and did it. And again, some of these best anglers in the world, you'd be amazed, and the better you get to know them, sometimes it's just that decision, like they really didn't have nothing going, and then all of a sudden they made a last ditch decision with an hour left, and 14 pounds later, and they're in the top 30 again. You know what I mean? And it's just decisions. Once you know how to throw the baits and you get good at the cast and all that kind of stuff, it's purely decision making from there.
Yeah. So this is an interesting question from Gaff. He says, what do you need to have on lock before jumping to the next level? Boat control, fish management, casting. Casting mechanics is a no-brainer. If you can't get, that's like, but I would say you've kind of went in the face of this to some degree. There was a lot. I mean, you were more on the, like, just throwing yourself into the next level. I wouldn't say that you had any, like, you know what I mean? There's a lot of things you didn't have on lock before going to the next level. So that's an interesting question. So
no, I had an opportunity with BioVex, that, I could have easily have taken that money that they were going to hook me up with, and I pitched it to them, and I had an opportunity, and I knew I was a little bit ahead of my time, ready for that again if I could have done the co-angler thing at that right away. But I had a boat that, I mean, I don't even like to think about it, but
I told you not to buy that boat. I told you that.
Yeah, God. I think 2013 was when I fished those opens. I signed up for all 9, might have been 14. I signed up for all 9. And I broke down in like 6 of the 9 tournaments. I just had a bad engine, and they couldn't get it right. I mean, I'm talking like it was just bad luck. Like, first day of the tournament, I'm 30 miles away, and all of a sudden it would just go down. So, but again, I wasn't putting it on credit card. I've seen plenty of people do that. Some make it, most don't. But you definitely want to make sure, that your skill set is there. You don't have to stay in the state and dominate there, but if you don't do it that way, like Fighter did, then you should really do the co-angler route at the national level right away. So like Chad Smith is having success now, but when he first started in the opens as a co-angler, not a lot of guys knew who Chad was on the local tournament scene. He wasn't a set fighter, that's for dang sure. But now he's grown his game up.
Row. Josh froze up for me. I'm guessing he's froze up for you. Oh, you coming back?
We're so close.
We were so good for so long.
Rich.
Yeah. Oh, he went back. All right. We'll see if he bops back in. If he doesn't, we'll hit a few more questions up. And otherwise, it's been an awesome stream. We've been hovering right around 100, a little more between Facebook and YouTube. That's awesome. Thanks everybody that's been hanging in. We're going to see if we can get a few more minutes out of Josh. If not, we'll wrap it up, but we'll try to answer a few more questions here. Tons of great questions. Try to get to a bunch of them. Not sure if we got them all, but I think we got a lot of them done. I'll try to answer your question here. JP, a lot of people, it's very popular to fish hookless baits. Especially down south where baits are, and I think it depends on the time of the year a little bit. If it's spring and it's wide open, looks like he's moving. So, do you use hookless baits much in practice, Josh?
Wait, what was that?
Baits without hooks in practice much?
No. If I'm actually going to cast them, I'll usually stick them.
Okay, it's interesting. So there's different thoughts, and I think for me, there are times that I'll definitely bury a hook more where it's really hard to get a hook set. There's definitely times I will not try to hook them, and I'll just, maybe they'll hook themselves, maybe they won't. There are times that I will bend it over or cut the tip off. It really depends on how tough the bite is for me. Up at Island Lake last year or 2 years ago when I almost won the state tournament, it was super tough. The writing was on the wall. I did not want to catch them. Almost half the fish I caught in the tournament were fish that I identified on resident docks that were way off the beaten path that I knew nobody would go to. And I would literally just go up there and shake them off and then run from dock to dock that sometimes would be miles apart from each other. So it depends how tough it is. In the summer and the fall down south, definitely consider it. If it's wide open in the spring, you probably need to know the size of the fish you're fishing. So it's all situational and it kind of depends on your system. But man, any new products from Outcast?
The 1/4 ounce net head's out. That one we've been wanting for quite a while, and then COVID slowed that whole deal up. So we're pretty excited to have that.
Yeah,
new stuff coming, but
so AP fishing. Is there room for a shallow guy without $15,000 worth of graphs anymore?
No.
I mean, not on the tour level.
No.
But you don't need 15,000 out of your graph to do well locally. I mean, I almost made it to the Classic with a 959 on the front of my boat 2 months ago. So, and I don't know that $10,000 more of the graphs would have, caught the 3 more pounds. I don't know. I'm just saying, so it's getting to be important, but I also think it's still situational when that for a full season, it's important if you're going to probably compete at the highest level. One-off tournaments, it's very situational to some degree. There are times that, like you said, mapping is going to be more important for you on Okeechobee than front-facing sonar.
Yeah, and the maps change too much. You don't ever know where you're going. That's the thing. It depends on the fishery totally. To get through a full tour season, no, you definitely.
But Lake St. Clair, not in the spring. Yeah, you're going to need some electronic horsepower, right? St. Lawrence Seaway, Great Lakes, Ozarks, when they start to get offshore, ledge fishing. There are times for sure, but it's not always. So I don't know.
And do you really need 15? I don't know. people see the pros do it and stuff like that. That's because they can, that's their
But
job.
there's some guys that do really well with like a 16-incher at the bow and a 12-incher on the console.
That's really all you really need. But like, active target or live scope, any of that forward looking sonar technology is as important as what side imaging was when it came out, and what it still is. You got to have a side imager to be able to find where they live a lot. And then the thing about it is it depends where you're fishing. Like here at Okeechobee, again, I'm sure I could, I once said that Alabama rig wouldn't matter in Florida and then get my butt kicked by it. Oh, so I'm sure somebody's going to use it for certain things, but as a general rule of thumb, no, you can fish Okeechobee your whole life and never have a graph on your boat. You can fish a lot of the river systems and not have much for electronics. You mainly need to know water temp. That's what you need to know in a lot of places. But then again, when you're talking about some of the best bass fishermen in the world, you give them a tool like that and give them $15,000 with electronics, and they're already better than you, then you're probably going to be in for a long year.
Yeah. And I was going to say, like, when you're fishing against the best fishermen already, like, you can't give them that handicap, right?
Exactly.
But there's a lot of guys locally and regionally that are all kinds of fancy stuff on their boat that I've, beat them down big time because that isn't going to make up for 20 years of time on the water. It's not going to make you an instant, it's not going to make you like an okay fisherman to a great fisherman, right? It's going to be like, it may take you from the 95% to the 98% level, but you got to know what to do with them, right? Like, so it's important, but it's not everything, I guess. Right.
100%. No, and if you're getting into the sport and you're getting into electronics, you just want to look at ones that, look at what the top of the line is as far as features and try to get a graph that'll be compatible to that, because the bottom line is when you get serious, you're going to get more and more and more into the graphs. And the thing is the graphs are kind of easy to read. Mm-hmm. When you have somebody over your shoulder, a confirmation telling you, I did a lot of electronics training. I still like to. It's been I can't fit them in quite like I used to, but a lot of people will have the $15,000 with electronics, and they only really know the sonar part and how to read the depth and find their way back to the boat ramp. But again, then they're making the right step. They're hiring a guy like me to get out in the boat with them who I've just lost thousands of dollars in gas money idling around Minnetonka for 5 years trying to figure out what my side imager was saying. I can shorten that learning curve for somebody really quick. But electronics right now are the big thing, and there's a plus side to them, there's a negative side to them. But again, they're only going to make you more lethal on the water, like a scope makes you more accurate on a rifle. It's you're going to be able to take a longer shot and a cleaner shot and stuff like that. And electronics are a lot of the exact same ways. Certain fisheries you don't need them, but there's definitely some that you 100% need to have them, or it's going to be spotted bass are one. Spotted bass, you want forward looking sonar technology.
Yeah. I mean, if you fish the river all the time, you can probably get by with a little less electronics. Every time they're still going to play, but there are times that, more often than not, you can buy. But if you're going to set up and you're going to be serious about fishing tournaments and tournaments that have $200 to $500 or more entry fees, you at minimum want front and back graphs that talk to each other, right? You want side imaging and down imaging on your back. And, you want mapping and GPS up front. And you should be buying something that at least will be compatible with a front-facing technology. Yep. Even if you can't afford it now, make sure you get a unit that will at least be able to upgrade to it. Yep. So, Eric, any good opens team circuits in Minnesota? If you're talking about good as in big payouts, I would say the Champions Tour is pretty good. The rest of them are so-so. If you're looking for big payouts. What's the best Shimano, or what's your favorite Shimano for big swim baits? The 300K or the Tranx 200X?
I've actually been throwing a Tranx 300. I don't have the new 300K yet, but I'm going to probably go to that reel just because I like the Corrado so much.
Yeah. So, well, cool. Well, we're pushing right up against 2 hours, Josh. I don't know that we need to risk the technology gods much longer. We've weathered a couple storms already. I appreciate your time. We definitely need to get out on the water when you're back in Minnesota, so we can reboot some on the water stuff. And why don't you go out and rip off a win this year, and we'll do a seminar afterwards.
I'll do it. I'm looking forward to it. Thanks for having me on, Rich. Appreciate it, bud.
Yeah, it was a good one. We were right around 100 all night. It was awesome. So thanks to everybody that hung through the difficulties and that lots of great comments. And if you guys enjoyed this, you can go back and watch the replay for what you missed. I also put it on a podcast version that will be links in the description, or search HellaBass on your podcast app, and you can listen to all these in the future. But as always, here to help you guys catch more bass and suck less.
See you guys. Thanks, Rich.